we have a lot of workshops that are being taken by the government to try to bridge the gap of what happened and what can be done to assist, to build up some or equip people in terms of what can be done to bridge the gap, so that people are drawn in the sector, not only from the necessity. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now let's please give a round of applause to our presenter. And now we have another treat for you, a third treat actually. And this is a presentation about exploring the relationship between personal characteristics, perception of failure, and business orientation among medical entrepreneurs in Romania. And so our presenter is, I'm gonna try this.
Oana Bărbulescu.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. Please let's give us some love.
Entrepreneurial intentions plays a vital role in stimulating and creating startups, entities that are considered a main driver of economic development. Many studies have shown the principal factors that influence the shaping of entrepreneurial intention, focusing to the age, gender, and motivation, but very few analyze the ways the connection between entrepreneurs' characteristics influence their orientation towards a certain type of business. This paper aims to do so. That is why the following hypothesis has been formulated. The reduced feeling of house ownership of entrepreneurs influences their orientation towards a certain type of business. This paper also contributing to the research on entrepreneurship by attempting to understand how the perception of failure influence in relation to the risk caused by competition, by competitors, are influencing the future entrepreneurial intention of founders of startup medical business. Based on previous research, many entrepreneurs who have experienced fail have given up on starting a second business that could have brought them back to the same situation. However, there is a great number of those who stated that the previous experience helped them in their current enterprise, considering that the first attempt in which it was not successful was not a failed attempt, because most of the things they are learned help them in the success of the current startup. Later argument has been investigated in a number of studies which indicate that the entrepreneurial experience, namely the number of previous involvements and the level of management role played in such new ventures, was by far the most significant factor for entrepreneurial success. We also consider in our theoretical framework the significant relevance of the perception of failure, which impacts the business futures of SMEs, influencing the entrepreneurial intentions. Therefore, the following hypothesis could be formulated. Entrepreneurs perceive failure as a consequence of underestimating the risk related to the competitors. The research methodology implied 12 medical startups entrepreneurs who were interviewed, applying the method of semi-structured in-depth interviews. The investigative tool was interview guide. The data analyses were performed using descriptive statistics. The first hypothesis analysis presents the results of the regression equations for each variable that describe the entrepreneur characteristics. So the only relevant characteristic which influence their orientation towards a certain type of business is not the house ownership, as we assume in the first hypothesis, but the marital status. According to the findings, the entrepreneurs that are singles are more profit oriented because they want large businesses and relations with the professionals and institutions. Meantime, the divorce status are associated with businesses oriented towards helping individual with healthcare concern. Couples are both, they want helping individuals, but also create and develop products for healthcare institutions. Or otherwise, married entrepreneurs are distributed on all type of businesses, including patient-centered businesses. However, the house ownership is critical for the study because a relationship between this variable and the number of co-founders was surprisingly found. The results reveal that the lower the sense of ownership, the lower the number of co-founder is. From this, research question showed that if the large number of co-founders shows the increased sense of ownership, then what type of businesses are they running? There is the analysis shows that the motivation of entrepreneurs involved in startups within more than 2 co-founders is based on the motivation of a challenge or a problem that directly affected the entrepreneur. Therefore, the participants who showcased this motivation are the ones that place individual with healthcare concern as a main client for the product, and the ones who are nature or did not face personal health issues presents the orientation towards businesses with healthcare professional or institution. The second hypothesis is regarding the entrepreneur which perceive the failure in business as a consequence of underestimating the risk caused by the competitors. But the results reveal that the most entrepreneurs perceive the failure as a consequence of a lack of funding or investment, and the risk from the competitors is a perceived risk placed only on the second or the third place. Considering this outcome, we use cross-tabulation in SPSS for the lack of investment and the number of co-founders. The type of risk is perceived by entrepreneurs that are working already with co-founders to a greater extent, and entrepreneurs that are leading the startups alone. Identifying the characteristics of the entrepreneurs and aligning them with the results from previous research, the age characteristic is a very important and influent factor in the literature, and in our study comes and strengthens its role in the entrepreneurial process. The age, together with the house ownership, explain the orientation of entrepreneurs and is more relevant when it's considered as determinant for the number of co-founder. At the same time, the age is not a differentiator when it comes to risk. Surprisingly, the gender, the education, and the motivation have not been discovered as defining factors for the businesses. And the marital status as the most relevant variable to define the orientation towards a certain type of business. This outcome complete the entrepreneurial theory because the behavior and entrepreneurial intention is influenced by the person with whom the entrepreneur live. Starting from the 8 potential influencing characteristics, 2 of them turn out to be relevant to explain the orientation of the entrepreneur towards a certain time of business. The first hypothesis was denied because not the reduced sense of ownership is influential by the marital status. And also the second hypothesis was denied either because entrepreneurs do not perceive failure because of underestimating related the competitors, but the lack of fund investors. One of the limitations is the semi-structured discussion held with the participants using the method of in-depth interviews. Also, the nature of the data collected is because of the amount of information was collected and processed by researcher after the interviews, which would generate human errors. And however, this study represents a start point of a quantitative research. Thank you.